Welcome to Real Reviews. I am Tim Gordon, editor of thefilmgordon.com, and on this show, we discuss my views on upcoming films. You can also remember to read or listen to past reviews on thefilmgordon.com. This week, we look at Bad Hair, a comedy horror film written, directed, and produced by Justin Simien. The film stars Elle Lorraine, Jay Farrow, Lena Waithe, Kelly Rowland, Laverne Cox, Shantae Adams, James Van Der Beek, Usher Raymond, Blair Underwood, and Vanessa Williams. Now, earlier on another review, I talked about there are a lot of Sundance films that I generally like as a rule. And again, did not get an opportunity for the first time in several years to attend Sundance. But this would have been another of the Sundance films that I would have checked out, but it is just in time now for Halloween. Bad Hair tells the story, which is actually centered in 1989, of a young associate producer or a young kind of up and comer who works at a network called Culture. And as the film begins, she is been promised a promotion by her boss who runs the network. And she is subsequently leaving the company as a new administration has been named. The new woman is coming in, is named Zora, played by Vanessa Williams, and she is taking over Culture. She pauses the programming for 2 weeks and gives everybody an opportunity that she can reevaluate her team. Now, Culture is kind of a vibe, and everything in the show is kind of satirical and a spoof of a thing. So it's kind of a network that was like a kind of a BET-ish, MTV-ish urban network. And you had a lot of personalities there, African American personalities, and predominantly women who at the time had natural hair. Zora comes in with a flowing weave, and the new mandate that's kind of unspoken around the company is, you need to get your hair done. So everybody in the office begins the process of transitioning from natural hair to more of a Europeanized mainstream beauty look, predominantly with weaves. Now, the company or the hairdresser of preference is one called Verges, I think it was, and Laverne Cox's character played, and I think her name in it is Vergie. Vergie is Laverne Cox, and this is her shop. And our protagonist, Anna Bloodstone, who is the television person who really wants to kind of work her way up through the company, has been told, not necessarily, it's been inferred that she needs to get her hair done. They leave her a car for Verges. She goes into Verges. And as a guy who's never watched a woman in a salon get a weave put in her head, that was really painful. And we understand later on in the story why it is so painful. And when I say painful, of course, you go through the process where all your hair is braided together onto your head, and then the weave is sewn in. But this one is sewn in where we actually see blood kind of working its way in. And as I said, later on in the story, you will understand that with this mix of African folklore, history, and kind of a book that kind of foreshadows upcoming events in the film. Once the weave is in, Anna starts to experience some really strange occurrences. There's an instance where she pricks her finger, patting her hair, and her hair gets stuck in her finger. And as I said, without divulging too much of the story, you understand that there's a connection between this hair, blood, and a whole lot of other things that happen in this film. A lot of this film reminded me, and there are some similarities to an earlier film, Antebellum, which was released a couple of months ago. And as I said, I think it has something to do with an old story. And as I'm saying, I understand exactly what it has to do with, but I'm trying to not divulge as many details as you need in order to really watch and enjoy the film, but it has a lot to do with a story that she read. Her her uncle and aunt, played by Blair Underwood, as her uncle, and I don't remember the actress, and my apologies on the sister who I thought did a pretty good job in this film as her aunt, as they are kind of, letting her know or educating her about her culture and her history, which informs the decisions that she's had to make. And she's had some trauma because when she was a child, she got her hair done and got a perm that was so bad that it burned out a spot in the back of her head. And a lot of that is the reason why she's never involved herself in kind of this movement of having, hair sewn into her head. But I thought that much of this, the story, you see the foreshadowing, and there's a lot that happens in the second act where you're really not sure of the direction that the story is going in. And by the time you really start to understand the why and the what and the how, you're kind of immersed in the story and you just kind of ride it out. I'm not necessarily the big horror fan, but I was not repulsed by this one. I didn't think it was actually dumb. I thought that the mixture of what we've seen so much over the last several years, starting with Jordan Peele and Get Out, using the experience of our culture and our history and the horror genre, I think, again, it's another film that does a really good job of working those two elements in to give you what I think is a satisfactory experience. Now, I'm not saying, again, that Bad Hair is the greatest horror film ever made, but it's far from the worst horror film that's ever made. And to that point, I would give it a C+. I think that there's a lot of satirical content. Kelly Rowland plays a Janet Jackson-esque sort of a singer, and Usher, who's in this film as well, kind of sports the Bobby Brown Gumby from that time period. So I understand what they were doing with it. Justin Simien, who had so much success with Dear White People several years ago, which was another Sundance favorite, returns with kind of another follow-up to that film, which I don't feel is as good or satisfying as that film is, but a C+ for Bad Hair. It is currently playing on Hulu right now, and with Halloween just around the corner, this could be a film that could spice up your kind of frightful evening if you're into that kind of thing. So as I said, we tell you guys in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. Horror is not necessarily my thing. I could be wrong. Bad Hair, not necessarily a bad experience. You should check it out. Until next time, you guys take care. We'll see you on the other side.